Georgia for tonight's modified tractor competition. And Army, this ought to be one whale of a show.
I tell you what, all the drivers, Richard, are really excited. They're going indoors. That means they're going to be limited to 3 engines at the 7,200-pound category. I believe we're going to be seeing a new winner. Everybody's excited about it. We're glad to be here.
And we've got the best drivers in the country here tonight. One of those is Pat Friels, the 1988 Redman TNT Summer Points champion. First of all, Pat, congratulations on the national championship. What's that mean to you?
Well, thank you, sir. After 14 years of thrashing up and down these roads and working all night, it feels good to be on top for a change. I'd really like to thank the people that's helped me get here, and it's been a great year for us.
And what are you looking for track-wise going indoors to this shorter track?
Okay, it'd be altogether different from what we're doing outside. Outside we run 5 to 6 motors, 300-foot tracks. In here we'll be looking at a 180-foot track and 3 engines. A lot less horsepower. The man that drives it out of the hole and gets it hooked, he'll be the man to beat tonight.
Well, this could be the guy to beat tonight. Pat Friels is fired up and ready to go. Army Armstrong will be trackside, and we'll be back at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia in just a moment.
It's Chevy versus Ford. Compact and full-size pickups in a test of standard.
Heard Pat Friels say just a few moments ago, we are indoors. That means a limitation of only 3 engines for these modified tractors. That's Ron Hickson. They're about to add weight to the sled. A couple of test pulls already down the track. They've decided to add more weight. But only 3 engines indoors. David Banner normally runs 6 on the outdoors. Paul Norman runs 3 all the time. Army Armstrong spent time talking about the motors earlier today.
Well, Richard, all summer long, the people who have been watching Power Tracks become very familiar with the vehicle I'm leaning on. It's Dave Banner's vehicle. There's one difference. The engine numbers. We're sitting right here with kind of a staggered or an awkward engine setup. 2 engines on the left side, 1 engine on the right side, a big hole in front, a big hole behind. What's the difference? The difference is we're indoors. The indoor combination is limited to only 3 engines and a weight of 7,200 pounds. Now over to my right, Paul Norman with the War Wagon, the All-Pro Auto Parts vehicle. He looks over at Banner and says, "Welcome to my world. We're indoors." The stack engine combination seems to be the hot setup. You notice all the engines are in line. All the engines are turning the same directions. This seems to be the hot setup for indoors.
Well, Army, as they said in the days of the Romans, let the competition begin, and we're going to begin it with a 16-time national champion, David Banner out of LaFontaine, Indiana. But all those national championships won on the outdoors with 6 engines.
Like we said, he comes to the indoor world, a 3-engine combination. Banner has to be considered an underdog this evening, Richard. A rare position for him to be in. The run goes down, looks good, about a 167, the record show. So we'll be keeping an eye on Banner and the rest of the field.
All right, Army, I know earlier today you spent time with David and talked to him about making the adjustments going from outdoors to indoors.
Now, Dave, one of the big questions a lot of people are asking, you're used to running the multi-engine combination. By multi-engine, I mean upwards of 6 engines. We're limited indoors to 3 engines. What type of adjustment will you make for the engines and also the length of the tracks?
Well, when you're indoors, you know, it's a shorter track and everything, and that's the reason they've had to go down to limited of your engines down to 3 motors, and I think it's a good idea. But you're going to have to set your chassis up completely different, and your horsepower is going to have to be, you got to do it all in a short distance, so you're going to have it ready to go. It takes a little bit more power to run indoors, believe it or not.
David Banter, kind of a quiet guy in conversation, but a high-powered personality on the track. And Army, why is he coming back so soon again with his second vehicle, the Fox machine?
The pulling order in this Ford, Richard, is determined by the luck of a draw. He drew back-to-back numbers. Now, he just made a run. He's sitting on top of this thing at a 167. Let's see if he learned anything. I believe he's going to go back. I look for a better shot out of the Fox. Let's see what's going to happen. He was talking about getting horsepower. You've got to get it a lot quicker indoors, and believe me, he's trying to work that right side to perfection with the Fox tractor, Richard. A decent run.
152.11, not as good as the Chevy's distance, but overall a good day for David Banter. And you're talking about horsepower that is down there on the track, a total per vehicle of about 4,500 horsepower, and that wreaks havoc on the track.
You know, on the Ford of pulling, we talk about the ground speed you get. Now, the track crew have been in Atlanta putting this clay in. They've been packing it. They built it just as hard as you would a road. But with a 160-mile-an-hour wheel speed, David Banner has dug all the way through 24 inches of super compact clay right down to the floor. The same floor they play basketball on and everything, but tonight, 160-mile-an-hour tires were smoking in the middle of the Omni.
You know, that's one thing that amazes me, Army, is you're talking about 167 miles per hour. How was that judged as we get ready for Robert Elliott coming out in the fancy farmer tractor?
Well, just general by the wheel speed, they go with the taller the tire, the width of the tire, they run actual gear. Banner said earlier, as we watched Robert Elliott out of Mayfield, Kentucky, get ready for his shot, you've got to get the horsepower to the track quick indoors. That's what they're doing. You got to crank those rear wheels to really lay down a shot.
Robert Elliott, 168.61. He is going to take the lead, and we're going to take it trackside.
Robert Elliott, we just received word you're the new leader with a 168.61. That was a sharp run you made.
Well, thank you, but, you know, the show's not over till the fat lady sings, but I hope it'll hold up.
Waiting for the fat lady to sing, he's going to have to wait a while because we've got some stiff competition on the way, Army, including this guy. He is out of Rockford, Ohio, John Heilman, and a dandy in the Ohio Gold.
Heilman, the Engler chassis combination, 3 engines, 2 crank-to-crank, a stack motor. Looks like a new leader, Richard, out around a 170. Heilman, official, with a 170.20.
All right, so John Heilman is the new leader as we are continuing this 7,200-pound modified tractor competition indoors in the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia. Back with more in a moment on Power Tracks and ESPN.
There are many ways you could be injured. An automobile accident.
Back in Atlanta, Georgia for the Red Man TNT All-American Pulling Series. We're on the track now. Big John Carlton, Virginia farmer out of Little Plymouth, Virginia.
3-engine combination. Look at the middle engine, Richard. He's got a lot of clutch dust. That's an indication he was slipping that engine real bad. The black clutch dust cost him some distance on that run.
And it is certainly reflected in his pulling distance as he only goes 148.65 feet. As we get ready for a dandy, John Powell, Mr. Budweiser. He comes to us out of Apex, North Carolina, Army.
Another one of the triple engine combinations, the front 2 engines crank-to-crank, the stack engine. Mr. Budweiser, tough man to beat. He can definitely go into the lead. He'll lay down a good shot, right hand on the throttle. Look at the ground speed, Richard, on an indoor track. Mr. Budweiser is really nailing his shot.
He rocks and rolls down the track to a new lead distance of 175.02 feet. John Powell is our new leader in the Mr. Budweiser tractor. Let's go to Army.
John Powell, a new lead distance for you, about the 170-foot mark. Do you think it's going to hold?
I don't know. It's an awful good trot that's back there behind. We had a small problem with our middle motor there, the injector, but we're satisfied.
So the gentleman comes over from Tar Heel Country, right in the middle of Bulldog Country, and he's setting number 1 right now. Believe me, it's not over by a long shot. Back to the starting line for some more action.
And I'll tell you what, Army, it's never over until this guy runs the track. We're talking about Pat Friels, the Dollar Devil driver. He's out of Island, Kentucky, and he is the 1988 Red Man TNT Summer Points champion.
You know, this young man has worked awfully hard for 14 years, starting at the bottom of the sport, working his way to a national championship with the help of a lot of people like Engel Cams out of California. His local sponsor, West Express Trucking. Friels is on top. A dream come true. That's outdoors. We got to go indoors. Watch that right hand. That'll indicate the throttle. He nails it. Light on the nose, Richard.
You know, the last time Pat was here in Atlanta, he stood the tractor on its rear end. He's got the weight better this time and a nice pull of 170.07 feet for Pat Friels as he will not take over the lead but be in the top 3 right now.
Congratulations on your national championship, but I don't believe this was the run you were looking for tonight.
No, Army, not exactly. Track's getting tore up pretty bad at starting line down there, and we jumped in a couple holes and got sideways and had to hit the brake. But we're satisfied with this run, just coming indoors from summertime, changing motors and setup. We're real pleased with it.
Well, once again, we'll see a whole lot more of this young man out of the Bluegrass State as Friels had a dream come true. He's the national champion on the Summer Point Series.
So John Powell out of Apex, North Carolina maintains the lead thus far here in the Omni with the pulling distance of 175.02 feet. And it's time once again now for our question of the week on the Redman TNT All-American Pulling Series circuit. This week's question of the week about the Redman TNT All-American Pulling Series comes from Aaron Franklin of Woodstock, Georgia. And Aaron wants to know, what are they squirting into the engines? Well, actually, Aaron, all this is fuel in a bottle, and it's used to prime the engines to make them start faster and a lot easier. And if you have a question about the Redman TNT All-American Pulling Series circuit, send it to us, TNT Motorsports, 5515 Poplar Park Boulevard, Louisville, Kentucky, 40228. And if we use your question on a future ESPN broadcast, we'll send you a TNT Motorsports cap. You know, Army, earlier tonight, we had some other vehicles here in competition.
Yes, Richard, as you know, TNT Motorsports always runs at least 2 classes of competition. Earlier this evening, the crowd favorite 4x4 trucks were in competition. We're going to come back in just a minute and show a little bit of that action.
And we will be back with more Power Tracks on ESPN. We are in the Omni, Atlanta, Georgia. Back with those highlights and the final competition for the modified tractors in just a moment.
What dry was.
In competition. Here you see Carl Staples' machine, Risky Business. Carl is out of Moyock, North Carolina, and it's kind of a risky business for these guys going from outdoors to indoors.
Now, Carl, one of the most asked questions that we have on the tour is, what's the difference between indoor and outdoor pulling?
Well, just about all of the indoor tracks are about 100 foot shorter than the outdoor ones. And gearing right for the indoor track is really a key to doing good. I like the shorter tracks myself. You really don't need as large a motor, and that's just a good setup for me.
Okay, now you mentioned the track. The fact that the track that we're going to be pulling on this weekend is a man-made track. Mother Nature provides the outdoor 300-foot tracks, but we're coming indoors into a facility that the National Democratic Convention was here, 6 weeks ago? They had basketball in here a couple of weeks ago. They got a rock concert, but tonight, this truck and tractor pulling, it's a man-made course. Is this clay any different than what you pull on outside other than the length?
Yeah, every Redman track is really a killer track. It's real good dirt, and you better have your act together when you pull on it.
Well, we'll see how together Carl's got his act as he is about ready to take Risky Business down this man-made track, which, Army, I guess all the competitors agree it's a tough one.
It's a tough track. He drew that #1 spot. Luck of the draw plays a hand in this. Look at the run. Now, what he's going to do, he'll be the leader, Richard, but he'll have to sit on the end of that track all night long and let these guys take a shot at him and see if he can hang on to that #1 spot.
A little over 168 feet there for Carl Staples as we get ready next for Howard Lewis and the high roller. He is out of New Carrollton, Maryland.
Won his first national championship for the Chevrolets this year. He teamed up with Lee Edwards, a premier engine builder in the sport of drag racing, but they're making a new kind of horsepower in the Chevrolet engine. The high rolling pulling truck Chevrolet, your national champion. Lewis, what a shot, working at left side of the lane.
Howard just recently won the Redman TNT All-American Pulling Series National Points title. Once again, though, that title was won on the outside. His distance, a little over 167 feet, not enough to overtake Carl Staples.
We understand you just went into the #2 spot on this first stop of the indoor season. How did it feel out there tonight?
Track felt real good out there tonight, and Atlanta track is pretty good. But you're right, it's a whole new ball game between the summer and the winter series. The tracks are shorter. You have to drive them a lot more than what you do in the summertime. But we're real pleased with that run. We just changed motors on Monday to come down here to Atlanta, so we're doing all right.
And next out is going to be Russell DeForest in the Outlaw machine out of West Palm Beach, Florida. Army, these guys only limited to one engine. Most of them are what, around 500 cubic inches?
Around 512, Richard. Now, this one comes out of the box, out of the Ford camp, working the left side, up from West Palm Beach, Florida, around 700 cubic inches. There is no limit as to what you can run.
Now, these trucks also tend to dig ruts or channels in the track when they run, and a good driver will try to find those hard ruts or channels and follow rather than blazing a new trail. 168.62 feet for the Outlaw. Russell DeForest, a nice pull as the crowd loves it here in Atlanta, Georgia.
You're a long way from home to just be in second place by 2 inches. How do you feel?
Well, we got 2 more days of it. I think we can probably get it together a little bit. We just got the motor running right in it.
You're choosing the left side of the track. Does the location of the sled have a whole lot to do with this indoor course now?
I don't believe so. I think the track's pretty well the same all the way across.
Good luck to you in the Ford camp. We'll see you on the rest of the season on the Red Man Tour.
Thank you, Army.
And next, as we continue to look back on highlights from earlier competition here in the Omni, Terry Davis and the Super Thing out of Tappahannock, Virginia. Carl Staples is your leader in this modified four-wheel drive competition. Carl hoping he can stay in that #1 position, Army.
Carl drew the #1 spot. He sets #1, but all these fellas are taking a shot at him. He knows Davis, who, by the way, is one of the strongest independent pullers on the tour, lays a good shot down, but risky business stays #1.
167.58 feet. Carl Staples, there you see him going, whew, thank goodness. Now he's got another bullet to dodge, I guess you might say. And that's going to be Charlie Lowe, once again a Florida boy out of West Palm Beach, and the Killer 2 machine.
These Florida Fords carry some heavy metal, believe me. Charlie Lowe drew at the bottom of the field. Risky Business is worried about this guy. He knows that if anybody can find out where to put the horsepower to the track, it's going to be the Killer Ford out of West Palm. Lowe rolls out, takes the slack out of the chain. He's working the left side of the track, Richard. Chevrolet on top. Ford going after him. This is it. One-on-one. Lowe, the Killer, going after the Risky Business Chevrolet. And Richard, it looks like the final run of the evening is going to be the winning run of the evening.
It is 171.60 feet. The winner was Charlie Lowe, as Carl Staples certainly disappointed with being bumped off to second place. Let's go trackside.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, these Fords came up from West Palm Beach, Florida. You guys are playing hardball, Charlie. You go into the lead. There's not a whole lot of guys left behind you. Can you hang on to win this thing?
I hope so. I've done all the work on my truck, my boys, my brother. So we changed it a little bit. It seemed to work pretty good here.
Well, a few minutes ago, Russell DeForest ran. Now, he's from down around your country in South Florida. He was awfully close. Did you learn anything from his run that helped you on your run?
Nah, I just got on a little heavy.
He got on it real heavy. Charlie Lowe, Killer 2, was a champion in the four-wheel drive competition as he snaked out Carl Staples and Risky Business there on the final pull of that competition. There you see Go-Go the Gorilla. He's a crowd favorite, a regular on the Red Man TNT All-American pulling circuit. We're going to be back to wrap up the modified tractor competition in the Omni in just a moment on Power Tracks and ESPN. TNT Motorsports in the wintertime. On the weekend of January 6th through the 8th, Chevy Trucks brings the Red Man TNT All-American Pulling Series to the Ocean Center, Daytona Beach, Florida. The Lee County Civic Center, Fort Myers, Florida. The Charleston Civic Center, Charleston, West Virginia. And the Centroplex in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. On the weekend of January 13th through the 15th, the truck and tractor pulling action can be found in the Roanoke Civic Center, Roanoke, Virginia. The Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, and Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas. The big trucks will race side by side this winter when the Renegade TNT Monster Truck Challenge visits the St. Paul Civic Center, St. Paul, Minnesota, January 6th through the 7th. And the Leon County Civic Center in Tallahassee, Florida, January 13th and 14th. TNT Motorsports is proud to bring the nation's best truck and tractor pulling and monster racing to your hometown. See you there. We are back in the Omni, Atlanta, Georgia for the modified tractor competition. Your leader right now, John Powell, distance of 175.02 feet. But coming out next is Paul Norman. He is a character. Got a new sponsor. All Pro Auto Parts is on that tractor now. And he always wears a black hat. Never goes anywhere without it. I spent time with Paul earlier today. You know, in the days of the Wild West, they said only good guys wore white. Here's a guy that always wears a black hat. As a matter of fact, he goes nowhere without it. Is it a superstition, Paul?
No, I started wearing hats back when I first started tractor pulling 8 or 9 years ago. And over the course of the years, people have come to identify me with a hat. I can go somewhere without it. Nobody knows me, but I show up somewhere. They recognize the hat and immediately ask if we truck and tractor pull. And we strike up a real good conversation.
Well, also being identified with Paul Norman now as a major new sponsor, All Pro Auto Parts. Now, Paul, I know they've been good for you, but what does your team mean to All Pro Auto Parts?
Well, they came on board about 3 years ago, and it's been a very good marriage. They've gotten a lot of coverage. ESPN, for an example, reaches about 50 million homes a week. The tractor pulls are televised about 3 times a week, so this adds up to an awful lot of coverage for them. Just to give you an example, in NASCAR or NHRA, a major sponsorship for a year runs in the neighborhood of $1 million. For $50,000, $60,000, you can take and sponsor a tractor pull team and get enormous coverage through television, outdoors during the summertime when we run. This year, for an example, TNT Motorsports on the Redman Series reached in the neighborhood of 1.5 million people one-on-one. So this is an awful lot of exposure for a sponsor for a relatively small amount of money.
Well, I'll tell you what, he may wear a black hat, but All Pro Auto Parts thinks he's a good guy and a winner, and so does Paul Norman. And Paul Norman is also a character, and he's getting ready to go now, Army.
Norman sets on the starting line. 3 areas, aluminum engine for horsepower. Watch for a double pump on the throttle. There it is. He nailed the throttle, back and nailed it one more time. Generates a tremendous amount of ground speed. Wheels up, ground speed there. Richard, a full pull by Norman.
As he slides past the black hat, Paul Norman and the War Wagon All-Pro Auto Parts machine is now the new leader here in Atlanta, Georgia, with our first full pull of the night. So whether he's soft-spoken or a character on the track, you see him moving the distance marker down. Paul Norman is your new leader, and he's with Army.
Well, we got a new leader in Atlanta, Georgia. The guy in a black hat. Paul Norman with the awesome All-Pro War Wagon. Congratulations on a beautiful run.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Had an awful good run there. I thought I messed up a little bit in the hole, but she come on, the All-Pro tractor hooked good, and she made a full. We feel very fortunate to be here.
You know, it's kind of interesting how different guys psych themselves in the sport. Now, he took the black hat that's sitting on his head right now and put it on the finish line flag and said, I'm going after my hat. He did.
He not only went after it, Army, he got it. As we get ready for Mike Piper out of Mount Vernon, Illinois, the master of disaster.
Mike, he runs the same engine combination as Norman. Combination being the same type of engines, but they're set up different. He's got 2 rocket pod engines, one on the nose. He's not going to get the run that he wanted. Norman will stay safe in that lead.
Mike Piper, a little over 171 feet, as he had to go a full pull distance. There you see your leader, Paul Norman, talking with John Heilman, the Ohio Gold driver, kind of getting a chuckle. I guess it's because Paul's thinking, can this guy, Fred Freeman, mean mistreater, our final competitor, beat him?
Fast Freddie Freeman out of Wadesville, Indiana, using Chevrolet for horsepower, going after the All-Pro Special. He's not going to do it. Paul Norman will take the win. Back to Charlotte, North Carolina, Richard.
176-plus feet for Fred Freeman, not fast enough or long enough tonight, as the winner is a happy Paul Norman. And I know his sponsors, All Pro Auto Parts, are giving him a round of applause, as the crowd in Atlanta is. We look at our final 5. John Heilman 5th, Mike Piper 4th, John Powell 3rd, Fred Freeman took 2nd. Your winner tonight, Paul Norman, and the All Pro Auto Parts War Wagon out of North Carolina. For Army Armstrong, I'm Richard Lake. We'll see you again on the Redman TNT All-American Pulling Series circuit.
Join us next time for Power Tracks, the most powerful sport on earth. Brought to you